What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great day, a great week. We are here to talk some birds and some free agents, baby. That's right. It is sicko season. The free agent series has begun. So we're going to go through the offense, then we'll go through special teams, defense, get to know everything that's going on around the NFL, as well as what's going on with the Eagles at each of those positions. So we'll take a look at the cap space and draft picks the Eagles have, the current running backs, and of course the free agents, reserve future guys, the full list of free agents out there, unrestricted, exclusive rights, restricted, all those guys I will explain all that. And then the top 17 fits for the Eagles. It was 10, then it was 15. Then I wanted to add somebody, then I forgot somebody, and then it was, so 17 it is, baby. Let's jump right into this, though. Appreciate each and every one of you taking the time. Appreciate you hitting that like button, subscribing, all the things you do to support the channel. Cannot thank you enough. Would love to hear your thoughts down below on this one. Put some time into this. Took a couple days, but lots of information, a lot of great running backs, and a lot to talk about with the birds as well. So let's jump into it. Again, love to hear from you down below because we've got a lot going on here. And, you know, with the cap space and the draft picks, we talked about it. The Eagles are loaded this offseason. Right now, we're sitting at 20.2, but that's going to change with the reserve future signing we just had with Aquara there. Then we're going to, restructure, extend people. We're going to add, we can add up to like 40 million in cap space, probably more around like 20, 30 that we will, but still gives us lots of ammo there. And if you want to trade for someone, or we talk about, with these positions, each one, where should we be looking? And I do believe with these draft picks, we should be using one of them on a running back. So, yeah, we're not to the draft part yet, but still like to keep that in mind that I do want to get younger and I want to vet here. So each position, we explain that. Then we take a look at what we've got going on here. And, well, there's only one running back under contract, and then we've got one reserve future guy. And look, I like Kenny Gainwell. He's the best pass blocking back we have. But look, you need to have way more than him. And obviously, they're going to add people because, well, everybody else is a damn free agent here. So Swift, Scott, Penny, all free agents. And, Penny wasn't good enough to, make the roster to the point where he was RB3. So Scott, Swift, obviously Gainwell, all were in front of him. I don't think he comes back. I don't know that Scott does, but I do know they love him, jack of all trades, and can help us as a return man. But Swift, we're going to talk about that shortly here. You got to add to this room. And again, I would look to the draft, and I would look to add a veteran at this position. Lou Nichols, I like the kid. We talked about him before the draft last year. So, yeah, that's great. He'll be here for the summer, but that's just a reserve future guy. So that means, he'll be here for this offseason. He will be part of the 90-man roster, but doesn't mean he's automatically making that roster. So a lot of people get gripped up with those reserve future signings. It's literally, you're going to have 90 players competing. You're going to get all the players you can. So let's jump right into these free agents now. You see what's going on with the Eagles. Now let's take a look at the full list of running backs here. And I'll start it off by showing you these exclusive rights guys. 2 years or under here, accrued seasons in the NFL. So therefore, their team can offer them a contract and they either sign it or they don't play for anybody else. It'll be a league minimum there. And, at their, accrued seasons. So it's a no-brainer if you like the guy. If not, you can allow them, you don't have to tender them, and they could just become an unrestricted free agent. So we'll see what happens there. Craig Reynolds there, Blackshear, Ronnie Rivers, Zonovan Knight. So intriguing names. Lynn Bowden, even people were high on him a few years ago. But look, you have to wait to see what these teams, they really get to decide what they want to do there. Now, with restricted, these guys are the 3 seasons or less, not the 2. And these guys, they will be tendered, in 3 different ways. I'll try to explain this each show, but, if somebody offers them something, their team can match it. They can place a tender on these guys where it can be where they were drafted. So if somebody signs them, then you get in return that draft pick. So the team signing these people would have to not only sign them, but give up a draft pick. I'm not sure there's anyone on this list that I'm jumping off the page to do that. So we'll see if they get that restricted tender, if they get a contract with their team, or if teams let them become unrestricted. Again, I'll keep you up to date with all this stuff for the next couple of months here as we go through this. Next month when it starts, we'll get even more crazy. But this is just something to get that whistle wet. So let's get into those unrestricted guys. I know you're waiting for it. So here we've got some guys with starting caliber, maybe backup caliber, have been starters before, whatever it may be. But a lot of great names on this list. Derrick Henry, of course, Josh Jacobs, Eckler, Barkley, of course, Swift, Pollard, Dobbins. I mean, that's a lot of names. And on the other side, you see you've got not exactly the starting material anymore, but Elliott, McKinnon, the pass-catching guy, Kelly, Johnson, Moss, Edward, a lot of guys there. And I've got another list here for you. So you see some old heads there in Hunt and Cook. Never know. Right situation, maybe that helps them out. But you know how it goes for running backs. Can get tough in the later years. And then up next, this list, you've got 19 here. And man, these are obviously more of your RB2, RB3, maybe your RB4. And you can see Boston Scott is here. Rashad Penny is here. But some intriguing names at this point. And when I get into my top fits, I tried to pick people from each of these lists. So not just the starting guys, but maybe you get that starting guy in the draft. Well, hell, maybe you get two guys. You remember last year we got Penny in free agency, and then we traded for DeAndre Swift. So you never know. To me, you're going to be adding to this room, and there are a lot of very nice free agents that you just saw there. But let's jump into my top 17 fits, and you can tell me your top 5, top 10, top 3, top 17, top 25. I don't care. Let me know how you're feeling about this. But I went through this, and it just got really weird because at first I was like, all right, I'm just going to pick these guys. Then I was like, yeah, but I kind of want to do some back end guys. So it just got crazy. And, well, let's get crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Started off here with D'Ernest Johnson, friend of the show here. We've talked about him for years, and he actually almost did not make this list. Kind of fallen off. You can see last season here, did not start any games, but played in all 17, only 41 rushes, 2.6 yards per rush. Not so great there. And then yards after contact per rush, 0.8. That's not so great. Only one broken tackle. You can see 10 catches, 140 yards. So not doing much there, but he does bring something in the fact that he can help you in the return game. Now we've got Isaiah Rodgers here, so very excited. Don't know if Scott comes back, but I'd like to see Rodgers starting at corner, not so much work at running back, kick returner. So maybe one of these running backs, receivers could handle it. I think D'Ernest Johnson, hell, why not? And, obviously a down year there with these guys. Over his career, though, he has 4.6 yards per rush. So much better than the 2.6 you saw last year. I'm a fan of D'Ernest Johnson, and if you're looking for an RB3, RB4 to replace Boston Scott, I think this could be a guy that I would be intrigued by if, maybe Boston gets a lot of money and goes somewhere. I'm not against bringing him back, but D'Ernest Johnson, that's an option there. Now, up next, I've got Damian Harris. And when he played for New England, I thought, man, if he just weren't there with their other back, Stevenson, I think, he could shine. He goes to the Bills and really wasn't able to do what they were hoping for. And they had to bring in Latavius Murray, and Ty Johnson was getting carried. So all kinds of stuff was happening there. He played in 6 games, 4.1 yards per rush, 1.9 yards after contact there. So I think that's good still. And, obviously only 2 broken tackles, very limited work there, but he can return the ball too. He has some kick returns. He did it at Alabama as well. So he's 27 years old. If you're looking for one of those guys that, still has some hope, he can, pound the rock a little bit. He can catch the ball. Hey, why not? This is a guy I would consider in that RB3 range. So you're going to need multiple guys. That's why you're seeing guys of this caliber on this list. And up next, back in the day, would have really loved to have me some Cordero Patterson, but definitely getting up there in age. Luckily at the beginning of his career, not really run into the dirt, but 32 years old now. We know he can help us as a kick returner. He can pound the rock. He can catch the ball. He can do it all. 3.6 yards per rush there last season. 4.9 yards per rush over his career, though. And he didn't have any rushing touchdowns, but they got Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier there. So I think he obviously could look to move on here, if not retire. He's got 1.8 yards after contact per rush there. So he's still got the juice, man. Still got some power. He can catch the ball. He did drop the ball once and fumble once. So that's not bad at all, but limited work. Again, this is going to be his 12th season here. So look, I'm a big fan of Cordero, but I don't know how much is left in the tank. But if you're looking for an RB3, 4, somebody that can be your kick returner, I'm not against it. Now, in today's NFL, you're not seeing as many kick returns, so it's not super important. We've got a good punt returner. Rodgers can do both kick returning and punt returner. So we'll see if that becomes important, but that does help with these free agent guys. Now, up next, let's take a gander at old Deontay Foreman, another guy. And we've talked about most of these guys before, but I'm a fan of Deontay Foreman. Played in 9 games, had 8 starts with the Bears there. They had a lot of injuries going on there with Herbert. And, obviously he was RB3 at first, but dude, he's still got some left in the tank, and he's only 27, 3.9 yards per rush, 1.5 yards after contact per rush. And he's had better years doing that, where obviously, take numbers with a grain of salt. But, last year it was 2.2 the year before that. So the dude is a bruiser, and he can catch the ball, 5.8 yards per catch after contact there. So I think that, or yards after contact per rush or reception. Holy hell. But there's so much, that you need on a team. And, back end guys are important. And I think Deontay Foreman, RB3 for us, I would be more than okay with that, getting a goal line guy and actually using them. And we saw Kellen Moore, how he used Ezekiel Elliott. So I'm kind of looking at those guys. I'm looking at everybody, but, somebody that can pound that rock, maybe not have to have Jalen Hurts. And if they take away the brotherly shove there, we might need it. So we'll see. But up next, I've got Joshua Kelly, not the Chargers running back you were thinking. But look, this is kind of another RB3, maybe RB4 kind of guy. 3.8 yards per rush, 1.8 yards after contact per rush there, though. 6 broken tackles this year. Can catch the ball. He can return the ball. So adding that, that's something that helps. We obviously could use that. So if you lose Scott, it could be important. This will be his 5th year, only 26 years old. So this is a guy that, again, back end, not going to be the starter here. I would still like to see the draft or another free agent added, but not against Joshua Kelly being unleashed there. You spent time at UC Davis, but looked good at UCLA. So you never know with the change of scenery what that could do for somebody. So, hey, I'm not against it. I like Josh Kelly here, so maybe they pull the trigger there. But let's move on here to the next guy, Devin Singletary. And, they had Pierce there, but when he got banged up, Singletary was able to really get some work. 4.2 yards per rush, 1.6 yards after contact per rush. I thought he looked pretty good this year. 4 touchdowns there. And, an explosive offense that he can catch the ball too. And that's something that if I'm looking for a number 1 and number 2, and somebody that can be that third down back, I think Devin Singletary could definitely do that. A 3rd round pick a few years ago out of Florida International. This will be his 6th year, actually. You guys remember him with the Bills, but he can help you as a return man as well. So that's, another facet of the game, just like with Boston Scott. When you can help in all of those areas, obviously, running, catching the ball, and returning, that can be beneficial. And I think that this kid, very talented, and in the right situation, he could definitely shine. Now, up next, let's take a look here at Gus the Bus. And look, I'm a big fan of Gus Edwards, 4.1 yards per rush. And you see 13 touchdowns last year on 9 starts and 1.8 yards after contact per rush there, 12 broken tackles. He can catch the ball too. Now, only time he really gets to get work is when these other running backs of theirs are getting hurt. So it, leads you to believe, like, okay, is he really that good? And they really have a really good offense. So how great would he be? So for me, you're looking at an RB3 kind of guy with Gus Edwards. I'm not bringing him in to be the starting guy. I'm adding multiple pieces here at running back. And, if you got Gainwell at 2 and you Gus Edwards at 3, I'm not against that. So I like Gus Edwards there, not against a power back. And you're going to see a few of them in a row here. A.J. Dillon up next. I think that, Dillon is somebody. Obviously, he's got Aaron Jones in front of him. That sucks. But he's had his opportunities when Jones was hurt. And he just didn't live up to that 2nd round or the hype he had there out of Boston College. My apologies. Still banged up here. But 3.4 yards per carry, 1.7 yards after contact per rush. So not the greatest season this year. And again, take this kind of stuff with a grain of salt, because I do like A.J. Dillon, and he's got 4.1 yards per rush on his career, so it is higher than that. And, you've seen flashes before where, the yards after contact, his rookie season, he had 3.1 yards after contact per rush. Like, that's insane. Then it was 2.2. In the last 2 years, it's been 1.7. So, I don't know, man. I still like AJ. And again, in the right system, I think he could shine. So, only 25 years old. Why the hell not? You're looking at a guy to be RB2, RB3. Why not bring him in? I'm not against it. But I think that was number 10, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. So we're in the top 10, baby. Let me know how you're feeling about this list so far. If you like any of these guys, you got somebody on your mind, you got 9 more coming. So let's see who it is, but love to hear your thoughts so far. Let's go to Zach Moss here. And this kid, man, in free agency, we talked about him. And with Jonathan Taylor, what was going on there, he was able to come in here. And they had a couple other backs there that, Hines was traded the year before. They had all kinds of stuff going on. This dude just sneaks in there. And I thought, had a pretty damn good season. 4.3 yards per rush, 1.9 yards after contact per rush. He can catch the ball, too. He had 5 drops. You don't like to see that. But I think that, Zach Moss, obviously, a little bit of time spent in Buffalo. They thought they would get more out of him as a 3rd-round pick. Didn't really pan out. But I really think this year he has shown that he has really improved his game, and he could be valuable as an RB2, RB3. So, to me, if you're looking in that range, I think that Zach Moss would be a great fit. Now, up next, I've got Ty Johnson. And yeah, this might be a little high for some here, but I think he'd be a perfect fit as that RB3 we're talking about. Somebody that can help you as that return man, can catch the ball, can run the ball. Limited there. He played in 10 games, but 30 rushes. He had 4.4 yards per rush, 2.1 yards after contact per rush, and he had 8.6 yards after contact per reception. So this dude, he can do it all. He's a tough runner. And, we saw him when we played against him. I like this kid. His time with the Jets, I was a fan of. Even with the Lions, you could see glimmers of hope there. And, he's still pretty young, 26 years old. This will be his 6th season, but not a lot of wear and tear on those tires. I think he would be perfect for an RB3 role here on the Eagles. Now, up next, I would have this guy listed higher. I'm a fan of J.K. Dobbins. If it weren't for, that obvious injury history. He had 1 game last year, and, it sucks to see that. But you see 2.3 yards after contact per rush. You get a little glimmer of what this dude can do. And, in his career, he has a 5.8 yards per rushing attempt. Like, holy shit, that's pretty damn good. And, this kid, in his, years previous, he had 2 touchdowns only last year, but the year before they had 9. So I think that, there is definitely some magic waiting to be unleashed there. And this kid with the ball in his hands, he can do a lot. And he can, he's tough for a little dude there, 5'10", 215. Man, I like this kid out of Ohio State. And I think there's definitely some promise there. And I would not be against adding him. But again, he's got that injury history, so you would have to be adding more than just him. But I don't think he's going to cost you that much. So you've probably noticed that with these guys. And you'll see the top 5 a little more expensive. But here at number 6, Antonio Gibson, the rival on the Commanders there. And look, they don't really, I don't know, man. They didn't really want to use him. And obviously, Brian Robinson looked good, so that's great. But I would have used him more. 4.1 yards per rush, 2.2 yards after contact per rush, 7.9 yards after contact per reception. He can catch the ball, run the ball, return. He is literally what we've been talking about, and he would be the best at doing that. Now, he would be like a super upgrade to Boston Scott, and I like Boston, but I think Gibson's definitely better. So out of Memphis, 3rd-round pick, put him back with old Kenny G here, and I think we could see some magic happen. So I think I would be all for adding Antonio Gibson. I don't think he would cost you that much, but I would still, if I'm adding him, be looking to add to that room because he's not your true every down back, and I don't feel Kenny Gainwell is either. But we've got the draft. We've got other pieces. Let's take a look at some of these other pieces. Getting into the top 5 here, Austin Eckler at number 5. And yeah, Kellen Moore and the Chargers, whatever was going on there, trying to help out. But I heard Kellen wasn't really allowed to run his stuff. It was weird. Brandon Staley was trying to get him to be Sean McVay. It was just whatever, man. But you look at Austin Eckler and what he's been able to do over his career, 3.5 yards per rush, 1.7 yards after contact per rush. That just doesn't seem like him, right? And, in his career, he's got 4.4 yards per rush there. And in the past couple of years, yards after contact per attempt 1.9, 2.1 the year before that. His rookie year, it was 3.3. This dude, a little bowling ball, man, just bouncing off stuff. And I think that we all know his talent. He can return the ball as well. Didn't do any of that this year. Obviously, he's your main back. You're not going to do that. But if you were able to get a stud in the draft, you wanted to use him in certain situations, you could. But I wouldn't do that. But out of Western State, undrafted in 2017. And look, he's only 28 years old. He's definitely had some wear and tear on those tires. But at the right price, I would definitely not be against Eckler. But I've got some other pieces higher than him for a reason. But number 5, I think Eckler is a super phenomenal player. You add him to this offense, holy hell, man. But we'll keep talking about that in a second. Now, up next, Saquon Barkley. Same thing, man. We need a back that can catch the ball. Kellen Moore is going to do that with the Eagles. Allow the running back to not only run the ball, but catch the ball out of the backfield, get work in. And Saquon Barkley, man, Penn Stater, we all know who he is. I hate the fact that he has been a Giant. Weirdly enough, this is only going to be his 7th season. I feel like he's been in the league for like 15 years, but only 27 years old. Obviously a first-round pick in 2018. Last year missed a few games there, but 3.9 yards per rush, 2 yards after contact per rush there. Obviously still catching the ball, 5.5 yards after catch per reception there. Did have 5 drops. Don't like to see that. 2 fumbles on the season. So some mistakes for Saquon, but look at the team. When you're looking at these numbers, take it all with a grain of salt because, Daniel Jones, then Tyrod Taylor, and Tyrod's much better than Daniel Jones, but keep that in mind when you're looking at the targets and the receptions, all that stuff. So, and, when you're running behind a terrible offensive line as well, you got to keep all that stuff in mind. So I think at this stage in his career, if it were more team friendly, I know he's not going to get like a veteran minimum here, but I think that this dude, if he could work things out, I would be ecstatic to have him on the Eagles here. I think the dude is still a stud. He's still got a lot left in the tank, and you could really allow Jalen Hurts in this offense to soar by, having a running back that can run and catch the ball. Now, up next, this dude can catch the ball too, and he's been working on it over the years. 7.6 yards per reception last year, had 4.2 yards per rush, 2.1 yards after contact per rush. The King Henry out here, man. Started all 17 of those games he played, over 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns there. He is still a beast. 23 broken tackles. 1 broken tackle when receiving, only 1 drop in the past game, no fumbles this year. So holy hell. Now, he is 30 years old. We do know that he's going into his 9th season. He has been run into the ground, but man, he's still got a lot left. And if he wants to win a Super Bowl, if he talks about one of those mid-tier contracts to come here, or maybe you give him a nice contract, but you add some of those dummy years on that we talk about, that way his cap hits low this year, you put him, Kenny Gainwell, and draft somebody together. I will be ecstatic. And we got a lot of great prospects to talk about during the draft series. We'll do it just like we're doing right here with the free agents. But right now, focusing here, I'm not against adding Derrick Henry. I know that's a lot of people's number 1 on the list, but not for me. Now at number 2. This dude is a stud. Josh Jacobs. Now, I don't know if he wants to stay there with Antonio Pierce. Got some great energy there. Some good things going on over there in Las Vegas. But look, he's 26 years old. Go get you some before you're running to the dirt again. Out of Alabama, first rounder in 2019. Missed a few games last year, but 3.5 yards per rush, 1.5 yards after contact per rush. So not a great year, but if you watch that team at all, they were pure ass. 4.2 yards per rush throughout his career there. So we know that he is much better than what you're seeing here. And to me, this is a guy, last year, 2.4 yards after contact per rush. That's just bowling dudes over. Like, yes, and he can catch the ball too. Had 5 drops, 3 fumbles. So obviously you want some security there, but hey, those things happen. Now, I'm just saying, man, Josh Jacobs, that to me, you add him, pound that rock right down the throats of others. And, Kenny G can catch the ball. He can pass protect. Allow Josh Jacobs, though, to just, he can spell him. We get an every down back. That to me would be something I would be all for. Now, you're wondering, who's number 1? He's not going to put that damn cowboy up there, is he? And no, I'm not. I'm not interested in Tony Pollard at all. You saw what he looked like as the number 1 back. If he's looking for that number 1 back money, no, thank you. I'm good. I don't have him on my list for a reason. So my number 1, Give me DeAndre Swift back with an offense that's going to use him correctly. I mean, what the 39 receptions, 214 yards, 1 touchdown. Are you shitting me? Are you? Give this dude the effing ball. Like, we complain about not running the ball. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4.6 yards per rush, 1.8 yards after contact per rush, 65.6 yards per game. That's pretty good. 21 broken tackles. I mean, he did get the ball. It was just a matter of when. And it obviously drove us all insane. You know, I love run the damn ball. I say it all the time. So I really thought this kid, 25 years old from Philadelphia, Georgia, all these great relations he's got here. This dude's super talented. Former second round pick in 2020. He's still got a lot left in the tank. He stayed healthy last year, obviously missed that game, but I think that this dude, he's still got a lot left. And I think we could unleash it in Kellen Moore's offense. So as much as I like those other guys, I think for me, the number one reason that I want to bring back DeAndre Swift here is due to the fact that, well, he's already been here and he knows what's going on here. And I think he knows that there's much better things that should be happening for the team. They didn't happen last year. Okay, let's move on to this year. And maybe he takes a more team friendly. He still needs to get paid. He's earned it, but not one of the top, 5, 10 contracts there, where maybe 10, but Eagles aren't going to pay running backs like that. But if he's willing to come here, work out a deal where we, spread some money out, get those dummy years in there, I definitely think he could come back, and I would love to see him back. Now, not the greatest at pass protection, but Kenny G is, and there are other guys I just talked about that you could add with DeAndre Swift. You could still draft someone, and those 4 I'd feel perfectly fine depending on who you drafted and who else you signed. But this, when people look at the roster, we don't have this, that. We're talking about February here, folks. Free agency begins in March. We will add players. Then you got the draft in April. We'll add more players. And then you'll have another wave of free agency. We'll continue adding people. We'll trade for people. We'll do all kinds of stuff. So it's hilarious, but I'll keep you up to date with all of it. Don't let people get you twisted out there, because I know there's a lot of mayhem, but let's get excited. That, to me, I love sicko season, and I love putting these together. It's pretty nuts. And tomorrow, work is going to be insane. I'm not sure where I'm going to get home, so I don't know when the wide receivers will be out. I'm hoping, tomorrow's Fan Friday anyway, so Saturday, we'll hope for it. See, I'm losing my mind. It's all got me beaten to a pulp. I'm not going to lie to you, but hope you're all having yourselves a great week. Oh, my God. Thank you, Lord. The weekend is almost here, so I hope to see you tomorrow live for Fan Friday. We'll be breaking everything down. We'll be talking about some of the positions we've talked about, some of the ones coming up, all that stuff, taking all of your questions, answering everything you guys have got. Ready to talk some effing birds with you. Hope you're enjoying sicko season. Remember to go check out those playlists on my YouTube, where you can find out all of the signings, all of the coaching hires, all the cap space, everything you need to know. That stuff's already out there, and there are playlists to send you in the right direction. But if you got anything from this one, do me a favor, hit that like button. You can always subscribe down below. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You all have yourselves a great night. Stay safe out there. And as always, say it with me now. Go Birds!